Hey guys, this is Crap Hunter, and welcome back to World of Tanks. Woo! And welcome to the glorious high-definition premium garage. Yes, we've been in here many times before, but not in this kind of quality. And we're on the native resolution of my monitor as well, so good God, look at this. So sexy! Yes, it's very, very nice. Very happy about it. Anyway, enough of me talking about the graphics. Today's video, we are going to be reviewing the Jagdtiger. A while ago, I did say to you guys that I would be inevitably doing a review about this vehicle, and the day has arrived. It is probably one of my favourite Tier 9 tank destroyers. No, it is my favourite Tier 9 tank destroyers thus far. And there's quite a lot about this vehicle that other Tier 9 tank destroyers will have to do a lot to beat. So, without further ado, let's get into the review. So, hit points. How many hit points do you have? Well, a lot. 1,800 hit points to be exact. Yeah, that's a lot. Just 200 off 2,000. Tier 10 tanks. You're about 200 hit points away from some Tier 10 tanks. Yeah, that's a lot. But let's see how you fare, though, in comparison to your comrades. Well, I shouldn't really say comrades, but whatever. In this case, they are. So, first of all, La Française. And, yeah, they're shit. 1,550 for the Foch tank destroyer. So, yeah, okay. Better than the French, thank God. Your counterpart, being the Waffenträger Ausführung Panzer IV, has got 1,600. So, you're 200 better than them. Now, of course, once again, going up against the British, you don't really have much of a chance, as the Tortoise has 2,000 hit points, which is pretty damn nice. Yeah, that's 200 more than you, but it's also a very slow vehicle, so it's around about. Yeah, it's better than you. Going to America, the American T-30 tank destroyer has only one turret, and its hit points is 1,650. So you are better than it, and the T-95 is close, being at 1,700 hit points, but no cigar, as you are 100 hit points better. Now, finally, for the Tier 9 tank destroyers, you have the Object 704 being 1,600 hit points, being the same as your Waffenträger counterpart, and the Su-122-54 rounds it off with an embarrassingly low 1,530. It's got less hit points, I think. No, it has not. No, it's got less hit points than some Tier 8 tanks. So, oh dear. So, for hit points, apart from the Turtle tank, which, let's face it, every British tank is going to be better than you in hit points, you're pretty much up there. You're pretty much the highest amount of hit points that any other Tier 9 tank destroyer will have, which will definitely put you in a major advantage. And of course you are now in that environment where some tanks can one-shot others, so every little hit point counts, and certainly for this thing it does count. Now, onto weight and engine power. You are not light. You weigh 76.15 tons with 3 equipment modules attached, and you have a maximum tonnage limit of 79 tons. So you've got a lot of, you've got a fair amount of weight to get yet. This, in combination with your 700 horsepower engine, gives you a top speed of 38 kilometers per hour. This is pretty good. I will not lie, this thing is pretty good for a tank of this size and of that weight. It won't obviously reach those speeds very easily, as it's, horsepower per ton. If we can actually see, does it have it there? No, it does not. It's not a very fast and sort of nippy tank, but it's certainly more mobile than you would expect, and certainly it can come into major use, and certainly comes into my major use when engaging. You've also got a relatively okay traverse speed of 26 degrees. This is what I would say is the fine point. Like, any lower, and we might encounter some issues. Any higher, obviously, is always preferred, but this is what I would say is the benchmark for what I look for in a tank destroyer. 26, above 25 degrees worth of traverse, that will work really well. So, maneuverability-wise, she is pretty good, especially with 100% crew and obviously skills attached to it, and certainly can help you get out of a tight spot, though don't expect it to beat Batchats or anything like that, because, you will lose pretty badly. Now, onto armor. Now, the Jagdtiger although at first look would be amazing being at 250mm, unfortunately this is one of those tanks which the stats don't exactly tell the whole truth. But just looking on the stats alone, you have 250mm at the front. Then you get a very poor 80 to the sides and 80 to the rear. And unfortunately, to make things worse, it's very flat. There's little to no angling whatsoever. So any kind of high explosive shell from like a derp gun will most likely penetrate and do full damage. So be exceptionally careful about that. That's also why artillery may be a factor to have to worry about in your game as well. But how best do you use your armor like this? Well, let's go on a Tank Inspector to find out. So, here we are on Tank Inspector. Here is the Jagdtiger, and here are the Jagdtiger's armor values. Now, almost instantly you can note that the 250mm of frontal armor doesn't actually cover the entire front. It only covers this section around the gun mantlet. Which means, unfortunately, the armor that you actually get on your upper glacis, upper section here, is only 150mm. Despite being very well angled, this only can provide you up to, at most, 205mm of protection. Unfortunately, however, the lower it goes, the lower the armor, the easier it will be to penetrate. Hell, even some points, you might even get tier 7s with a D25 being able to pen. So obviously, instantly, the tactics I would recommend for this vehicle is hulling down. This 250mm section here is very, very bounceable, and would say virtually, I would say impenetrable, but people using gold will go through it. That or ridiculously high penetrating guns. But that said, if you find yourself in a decent hull down location where you can get some pretty decent shots off, exposing as little of this section as well of armor, then, you know, generally speaking, being clever whilst you're hulling down and not just going blatantly stupid will be able to provide you a near impunity when it comes to being shot at from the front. Now, of course, unfortunately, the side of your tank is a completely different story. It is 80mm thick with very little angling whatsoever. So even a KV-2 can present a very frightening threat to you. So don't get shot by a KV-2, but best still, don't show your sight. Unfortunately, you will have on occasions been, we will be shot as well. And this vehicle can achieve a relatively decent level of angling if you promote it in this sort of stance. Same for here. Generally speaking, though, if most people get round your sides, you are pretty much screwed, and even less armor on the top. So artillery will love you if they try to shoot you over there. And finally, the 25mm of armor that here is for some reason needed to be highlighted underneath. So if a shell somehow bounces up from down here and goes under there, you are screwed. But yeah, generally speaking, the best tactic I would highly recommend when utilizing this vehicle in combat would be to hull down and try and show this section of armor to your opponent, whilst also maintaining your flanks are secure, so that way KV-2s don't get a tier 9 nom-nom. Because, let's face it, failed platoons will come in, and worse still, SU-152s, high-powered derp guns. Hell, even the 704 with its first gun is the derp stock gun, so a potential threat either way. Anyway, now, let's get back to the garage. Now, onto view range and signal range. And for view range, you get a very good 390 meters. Do ignore the actual with the other stuff, because that just is like the little passive stats. But generally speaking, you get 390. However, for once now, the FUG-12 actually starts to drag you down a bit, being only at 710. Well, considering you're going up against other tier 9 tanks as well, who might just have better radios than you. Just might. Well, let's have a little comparison with other tanks. Now, obviously, there's only one open-top tank, but it's pointless looking at his view range because it's going to be better than yours because he's open-topped. But anyway, going to the Foch, let's see how tank this thing is. This one has 390 view range, but has access to a tier 10 radio. So 40 more meter view range than your radio. Oh dear. Let's have a little look at your radio, at least for the Waffenträger. So the Waffenträger has a tier 8 radio, which only gives them 700 signal range. So very, very poor for the Waffenträger. Possibly the worst radio for the entire line. Oh dear. The Turtle tank has a 390 view range with a tier 10 radio, giving them once again 750, so much better than your radio. Let's have a look at the Americans. Now, T30 with its one turret gains 380, so you're actually better than the Americans by 10, but they still get access to a tier 10 radio, which gives them 745, and also is on the T95 as well. But let's see how you fare with the view range on that. So the T95, there we go, T95 with a tier 10 radio, the same one as the T30, has, once again, 380. So you are better than the Americans by 10 in view range, but unfortunately not so good in signal range. Finally, to the Russians, you have the Object 704 with 390 view range, and unfortunately, once again, although much poorer than most other tier 10 radios, 730, still 20 better than you. So Soviet Union can radio your position a little further. Finally, the Su-122-54 has 390 view range, and we mocked him earlier, but he comes back to kick our ass because he has the best radio, 760 crap, of the entire lot. So he, communications-wise, is far better than all of us. By at least 10, but still, 10 is better than most. So, for view range, you're pretty much average, if not slightly better than most other TDs. But for signal range, you are really lagging behind. I mean, how the little passive stat, because of my crew being at 100% and all that, plus a ventilation shaft, means that, you know, it's all right. It's only just about the same as the ordinary stat for a tier 10 radio. So, yeah, for signal range, you will struggle a fair amount. But that said, it's not a biggest issue, but considering that you're one of the only tanks out there, when you're going to engage someone who has a slightly shit radio, it's not really the most encouraging of news to have. Now, onto my favourite part of any review, the gun. And this tank has probably one of my favourite tank destroyer guns at the moment of all time. This thing. It is the 128mm PAC L56. Obviously, 128mm caliber, and she has a very nice 5.26 rounds per minute, which in reload time basically is less than 10 seconds, being at 9.62. It's glorious. For penetration, she has a very nice 276 standard, 352 premium, and 65 high explosive. Her alpha damage is 560 on both accounts, and 700 for high explosive. Her dispersion is fantastic, being at 0.33, and the aiming time is a pretty okay 2.3 seconds. It's just one of the things about this gun that makes me love this vehicle so much is its firing rate. While I don't think it has the same amount of rate of fire that the Turtle tank can achieve, it certainly is a good contender and is more than enough fun to work with once you've figured out how to hold down and work the armor properly. I mean, I've even got a replay to show you guys just how best to hold down and to knock out targets without even taking a single point of damage. It's a really, really good gun. And it is certainly worth the grind. I mean, let's go to the research tech tree to see what kind of guns you'll start out with. When you start out with the gun, you'll obviously get the top gun that you received from the Ferdinand, which is the L55. Now, this gun isn't bad at all. For a tier 10 gun, well, a stock gun, in fact, from the Ferdinand, it's glorious on the 30, and on this one it actually has a slightly faster rate of fire, but it has slightly less pen, has much less pen, much less damage, not as great accuracy, and the same aiming time. So, for a stock gun, it's good, but you don't quite feel like it does the job it needs to do, but it doesn't feel glorious when utilizing it. However, when you do get the PAC L66, which I will warn you is quite a bit of a grind, but considering what this gun is capable of, I don't think the grind is going to be terrible. It's not great, mind. I mean, it probably would be a little easier hell, the grind would have been easier if I knew how to drive the Jagdtiger a little bit more. And in some tier 10 matches, it's not great. Like, this is the E75's gun, and in some tier 10 matches, it can be a royal pain in the arse. But on other matches as well, once you've gotten everything else sorted, you should be pretty fine on that one. So, yeah, I would say this gun is not bad, but this gun just is so worth a grind. So, definitely awesome gun in my opinion. Probably, as I said, my favourite tier 9 tank destroyer gun of all time. Now, on to crew skills and equipment. This is basically where I tell you what stuff to get for your tank to make it awesome, and what crew skills you'll need to make your tank epic. Now, first of all, on to equipment, and in order to achieve this amazing 9.62 rounds a minute reload time, you're going to need the vents and the rammer. No questions. Now, the third option is, as always, up to you, but what I would recommend you not do, which originally would go against my tradition, is not go for the enhanced gun laying drive, as the aiming time of this gun kind of coincides very well with, well, at least for me, it coincides very well with the reload time. By the time I've reloaded, I've acquired a new target, I've already aimed on it, and bang, I can get on another shell, no problems at all. So, generally speaking, the enhanced gun laying drive, not really a good investment. I suppose the only two things I would recommend, one of which is certainly a good idea and also profits in multiple ways, is the binocular telescope. Now, this basically gives you an extra view range. I think that's what it says. It gives you, yes, an extra 25% view range for a stationary vehicle. So basically, stand still for a couple of seconds, either in a bush or in a spot you like, and you will gain an extra 25% to your view range. Another awesome feature about this is that as soon as you buy it, you can demount it and attach it to any other vehicle whenever you want, and then reattach it whenever you want as well on this vehicle. So this means it's a very much versatile tool, which allows you more benefits than just for the single tank. Now, the other choice I would recommend, but obviously it's not the best of choices as it only affects your one tank, is the super heavy spore liner. This gives you an extra 50% protection from explosions and ramming, and an extra 50% protection to your crew as well. Now, I won't lie, I've had occasions where I have been nuked a bit by artillery, and my crew has died as a result, meaning I haven't been as an effective vehicle. I personally don't have a kind of target. I don't feel like I've got a target over my head whenever I'm driving. So I don't really feel like I really could justify the ridiculous cost, which is I think it is the most expensive piece of equipment you can purchase for your tank. So it's certainly an investment that you have to think about beforehand, because it's 750,000 credits, $750,000 there going down the drain if you don't choose correctly. So it is up to you, as I say, but for a recommendation, that will definitely help you, regardless of whether it is the best of intentions or the best choice. It's still going to protect you from artillery if you have a fear of artillery having a hard-on for you. But personally, I would fully recommend the binocular telescope. Don't even bother with the camo neck. Like, yeah, it's okay, it might work, but considering you're such a big vehicle, and considering that your gun is so big, the likelihood of you being hidden very well by the camo is low. And to be honest with you, binocular telescope, if you shoot someone at the 500 meters, you might even be beyond their spotting range, so it means you wouldn't even have to worry. Now on to crew skills. Now, your commander will undoubtedly going to be needing the Sixth Sense perk. There we go. This basically gives you a little bit of a warning that you've been spotted. Now, note, it is only 2 or 3 seconds after you've been spotted that this thing will come up. But any warning's better than no warning, for sure. Now, in order to get this perk working 100%, because this thing doesn't come into effect until it has reached 100, you will need to find another skill, like, for example, camouflage or repair or firefighting, that comes into effect whilst you're being trained. So that way there is a benefit coming into effect. And then what you need to do is train this skill to 100%, and then find another skill, or whatever you haven't chosen, and train that to 40%. Now, the reason why you should do this is because when you click on the drop button, you'll actually suffer a bit of a penalty for dropping the skill. So then, when you go to retrain, you, instead of having a penalty and losing 3%, I believe, in total for XP, off your Sixth Sense, thus you not being allowed to use it until you get back to 100%, you will then have the Sixth Sense perk working completely fine, thus allowing you to choose whatever kind of perk you want to go for anything else. So anyway, going to the gunner, you should do the same process for Deadeye first, after which you may want to go for Armourer, but really I just went for repairs and firefighting because I've not really had too much issues with the gun being shot. The driver, With him, you don't actually have to worry about perks. Instead, you've got to worry about skills. First of which is clutch braking. This basically gives you extra traverse speed, which in this vehicle is very much appreciated. After which, I would recommend you get off-road driving. This reduces the ground resistance when driving on soft and moderately soft terrain. In small talk, you get extra acceleration and extra maneuverability on like anything except road, except tarmac. For your radio operator, you will want to give him signal boosting. Because of your unfortunate FUG 12-ness, any kind of improvement to your radio range is going to be appreciated. So extending your signal range is a must. After which, once again, your choice on what you will, want for this vehicle. Now, going on to the loaders. Now, there's a little bit of a sort of a hack, if you will. Well, not a hack, but, a sort of a helpfulness. Because you've got two loaders, you can actually train them for different sets and perks and skills. So for this loader, I've opted to go for the Adrenaline Rush. This is a perk, so once again, do the commander thing, and you should be able to get an extra 10% to your reload when your tank has less than 10% of its hit points left. Or I think it's an extra 10%, I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on it. So what this basically, it helps you in the last few glorious moments, or death-defying moments of your battle, which might save you from being destroyed. After which, once again, up to you on what you want to choose. For your other loader, I've opted for the Safe Stowage perk. While I haven't, to be honest with you, thought, oh, this is a definite necessary, because I haven't really been ammo racked as much, it's certainly a lot more useful than, say, Intuition, which doesn't really give you much of a benefit, and as such, this one is certainly a very useful one if you are hit on the side and it, potentially could be ammo racked. So definitely a bonus to have on your side at least. Okay, so that's enough talk for now. Let's actually get into some action with a couple of replays. And we're back, and we are in the first game on Abbey, and we are in Jagdtiger in a tier 10 game, standard matchmaking, or standard match.
Let's go.
And yeah, this is pretty good matchmaking. It's not like the best matchmaking around, but it's certainly not, the worst matchmaking around. And as you can see, the maneuverability of the Jagdtiger, not on the Jagdpanzer 100 yet, Crab Hunter, slow down. As you can see, it's not a very sort of accelerating-wise tank, but it's certainly, it does give it a few seconds and it will catch up to a relatively decent 30 kilometers per hour. Certainly decent enough for what you're going to be doing. And turning traverse once again as well, decent enough for what you're going to be doing. So the game starts out with first contact being made inside the center of the map. I, with my mouse, T-34 and an IS-7, are going to go 1-2 line. Waffenträger E100, Jagdpanzer 2 and an M103 are going to go 9-0. Our very brave AMX-50B and IS-8 tanks decide to go to the cap and wait for a few moves. So far no contacts on our side, but we are starting to engage their tanks. The T-44 on their side is absolutely buggered, being only at 93 hit points, and he just gets killed. So very much brave 50B. Anyway, we spotted IS-7 on our side. He pops a shot, misses or hits, but ricochets. IS-7 pops a shot, doesn't do anything. T-34 does the same. I move in. I'm aware of how close I am to potentially being shot, so I take my time, aim, and the first shell comes in. He bounces, and that one actually went on my upper glacis. Very luckily bouncing rather than being penetrated. So I decide to move for this destroyed Sherman as cover. 704 hits and goes into the cliff. Rather cool. And now I am hulled down in pretty much the best scenario. Bounce another shell. I pop a shot and deal a very nice 660 damage to that poor IS-3. It would be a tier 8, wouldn't it? The enemy 704 has a look. I fire and get a less than high roll damage. Bouncing. Another one. IS-7, not really got a shot, so I have a go for the IS-3. Just 8 under my average roll. Very good so far, kind of taking the time. Aiming. And 704 moves a bit, so I pop a shot. Nope, not yet. Can I pop it? Yeah, give it a go. And no idea where that went. Didn't even bounce, so I probably hit the tank in front of him. Spot the 704. Once again, popping a very nice shot, but unfortunately only does a critical hit. And the mouse tank moves into position, making it impossible for me to shoot the IS-3. Well done. So I pop another shot, goes aiming for the 704, but I hit the IS-7. I'll take that. And feeling rather cocky, I go for another shot, which I think also goes straight into the next tank. I go forward, bouncing another shot from the 704. Well done, mouse. Fire another shot. No idea where that went. A little bit of a glitch weird here at the moment. IS-8 comes out. I at first instantly try and go for him, but realise I could potentially be shot. So I get back into better position, taking my time. 704, fire, do a nice high roll there. Taking my time. Mouse tank pushing up as usual. Trying to have a go. Bounce another shot. I fire at the IS-3. That bounces off. And the mouse tank moves up. Now at this point, I get a bit of tunnel vision and start focusing a bit too much. Well done, mouse, firing high explosive. And the reason why I'm pouring this much hatred, because in a few seconds, I tunnel vision a bit too much. Aiming, and fire! The mouse tank just had to get in front. So unfortunately, I do lose my temper a bit with this guy. I was a bit annoyed at him for doing that. But it clearly, you realise, he was just an idiot. I'm sorry, that guy was just an idiot for charging. Using high explosive, doing 6 damage. I steal the kill above from him, and, you know, yeah, he got what he deserved. No kill and very little damage. I was a bit annoyed at him for doing that, because it's like, by that point you'll have known that people are shooting down that line. But anyway, on to the rest of the game. So, an M41 Bulldog has broken through our lines and is threatening our Waffenträger E100. Yes, E100. Waffenträger Panzer IV. And it's starting to do a lot of damage. So I'm telling the rest of the team, come on guys, there's a Bulldog, go get him, go get him. Waffenträger gets the Bulldog, and Bulldog's still doing lots of damage to him. It looks like the Waffenträger could be killed. Ooh, careful. Will the Waffenträger survive? Who knows? He survives. The Bulldog didn't get any more damage in, so very lucky us. And also down on this flank as well, the mouse tank with support of 2 other tanks finally clear through. The 50B finally coming down to assist. Now it is just the people on the 9-0 line, the Conqueror, Jagdpanther and Waffenträger E100, taking on a 50B and IS-7. In the middle at the moment, the IS-8 and AMX 1375 currently are waiting about. I think they were trying to go to spot the Object 430 and an enemy T-28 prototype who is already camping back a base. The only tanks that are remaining now are TDs and the Jagdtiger. So quite a big threat. At this point I was debating on whether to go into the town to help out the 1375 or IS-8, but then the Conqueror died, which made me think, oh actually, hang on a second, I might need to go over to the 9-0 line to go off and help those guys out. So I start making my way over there, kind of keeping an eye on the town. T-28 engaging our tanks, knocks out the T-34. IS-7 moves up. I'm looking at the IS-7 over there. Waffenträger somehow kills the prototype. And then I think, you know what, I might just have a go at this Jägeru, because I have a suspicious feeling. I think, oh, you know, a bit debating. Probably should have debated as much, but then again at the time, when that last moment comes in, you're like, right, this thing is going to have to go one or the other. So I go for the Jägeru, and as I hoped, he wasn't facing the right way. Now the first shot goes way off, I noticed now, but by that time I didn't know, so I'm like, So the first shot fires, hits, does a low damage roll, not too great on that. Our IS-8 and other tanks are pushing up. There's a bit of a weird glitch there, guys, my apologies, the game is glitching up a bit. So AMX 50B is there, he's behind the hill, Jägeru tries to withdraw, Amarak! First hit, 10 Amarak. And another shell into the 50B, low roll, don't care. And the game is over, with the 50B being destroyed by the 1375. Oh yeah. For me, ammo racks aren't that common, but when they happen, it is glorious. I think the previous highest one was a full health from an IS-3. Now that one tops it. Practically full health, because I didn't do any other. No one did any other damage to him, so I'd pretty much fully healthed and fully ammo racked a Jaegeru. Oh, glorious times. Anyway, guys, I'll go take you to the results screen. We got a pretty decent amount of credits, being 56,000, and for experience, we got a very nice 4,980. This was during a ×3, so not bad, eh? Not bad at all. We damaged a number of modules, obviously the ammo rack of the Jaegeru. So let's go on to the team score. Now, for damage, we did practically the most, but unfortunately, we weren't eligible for a high caliber thanks to the idiot in the mouse tank. I'm sorry, you know, in the heat of the moment, yeah, maybe it was my fault for firing too much, but then at the same time, he was an idiot for jumping in the way whilst we were engaging, so really should have been, it's just, never mind. But anyway, going back to other stuff, I also got the most experience of that game, and if we also go down to damaged block by armor, you'll note I blocked over 3,000, just short of 4,000 damage because of that whole spot, and I did not take a single point of damage in that entire game. So, not bad. And that's pretty much how best, I think that's the best scenario you can have for hulling down in this vehicle, to try and utilizing its armor the most effectively. It is that, I would say, that kind of scenario is perfect for the Jaegeru, especially if there's no artillery. So anyway, guys, I will see you in the next replay. And we're back, and we are in the second replay, this time in a much better tiering. I am joined by Biddenwar in his IS-8, and we are top tier in a tier, yeah, very much tier 8 match, standard on Westfield. And slight glitch, as it's going to take a few seconds. I think this was off my old computer, so it might be slightly laggier than, yeah, it might be slightly laggier than my others, than it would be normally, so. Anyway, the match starts off. Bidden goes rushing towards the town. I kind of advise against it, but then again, he is Bidden. And our tanks kind of, a few of the heavy tanks being exceptionally brave and going straight for the camp zone. I mean, for those of you out there who think that, you know, tactical placement and all that, yeah, I appreciate there's points where tanks, you know, can go to take cover, but then at the same time, there's just those who are afraid to get damaged. Anyway, Biddenborg runs right into a T-32 and an M103. T-29 takes a shot from the SVM-50T. I take my time. No, can't get a shot in, so I'll go for the 704. Bounces, obviously. And our entire team is ignoring the... Bidden in his ISA. I pop a shot. Really, probably shouldn't have gone for that. And then I think, you know what, sod it. You guys clearly not caring for my mate, so I will go and save him. I get a very lucky... I get tracked, not taking a single point of damage there. Lucky I didn't, actually. I'm surprised it only tracked that one, but oh well. So anyway, I'm making my way over to supporting Bidden. So, taking our time. There is artillery, so I have to be careful. Artillery tries to have a go. I take my time, pop a shot, get a lucky hit, and do 20 less than my full points. Another tank comes into the fray, finally coming in, but unfortunately Jagdpanther does get killed rather quickly. T-32 has a go, fires, bounces. Not doing any damage off my gun mantlet. Somehow he penned as well, but did nothing. And that's a weird glitch, my apologies. And IS-8 Bidden gets the kill. Now trying to move into position. Yeah, forgive the juddering, it is off my old computer, so the graphically, my frames are way better than this one it was originally recorded at. So T-29 enters the fray and decides to lend a hand towards it. M103 trying to poke. Artillery gets a nice shot into him, but then a T-28 prototype appears. I take my time, I fire, and do a nice roll onto him. Bidden War withdraws. T29 pokes another shot in there. It's not looking too good for him. Taking my time. I'm backing off as well in case the M103 tries it. I'm sending a message to the team saying, guys, look out. You know, come on. Come on, guys. Really move up. You know, being very brave back there in the forest. Enemy T28 prototype shows his face. I fire, get a nice high damage roll. Enemy M103 goes, high shot from that. 704 comes in, he fires, tracks, only tracks damage him. Very lucky Bidden War was. And 704 tries to go in, but Bidden War cuts his chances rather quickly. So now that we've pretty much held the flank by ourselves, we now finally decide to move up, and unshockingly, our team decides to move up as well. Anyway, T29, not really paying attention to the front, notices me, pops a shot, and now he's going to get it. Cheeky I am, I fire a shot, move in, Sarajino, hit. Now I've got cover from a bit. He bounces, doesn't know how to fight a Jägeru, or is it Jagdtiger? He dies, and then I have a lovely, glorious list of targets. I opt for the tier 9 as he has got quite a high threat. And engine shot, please. Ah, damn, no fire. Oh, scumbag tries to go for me, isn't lucky. I think he must be stopped. Yes, he was stopped. And I pop a shot. High roll, but not quite high enough. Reloading. T25, our team now finally charging. I go for the T25. Bang, there's another kill. Having completely decimated their lines, our team gloriously advances. Bidden War being the first, of course, even though he's got 90 hit points. Enemy Panther tank in position. I take my time. I fire. Scumbag down. Always nice when you can kill a scumbag. The day feels a little bit more complete when you've killed a scumbag. Anyway, the last remaining members of the enemy team have all huddled themselves into this little corner on K6. So now we're just moving calmly into position, waiting for the inevitable mistake that will lead them to become spotted and then destroyed. The Comet makes the first mistake. Trying to make a break for it. Take my time, he gets tracked, and before I can get a chance, everyone blows and delivers smithereens. Dang. Enemy T26E4 appears, I fire a nice shot into him, slightly low roll, but he then gets decimated as well, so now it's just the KV-13. Trying to pop it, he's popped a shot against Bidden. Bidden marks him on the map. And our team, tired of having to stand moving at all, decides to go over to the cap zone to try and force him to come out. Everyone's still convinced that the KV-13 is where he was last reported. I start to move in a little bit. Bidden is still determined. Yo guys, he's over there, not over here. Borsig moves into position to try and spot, but the KV-13 is already spotted. I'm kind of caught on a pivot, and it's not really looking like I'm going to get it, and bang, the game is over. So, not a very long game, but still quite a very nice action-packed game. Let's see how the results are in game. And it was a mastery badge. Huzzah! Yes, we've got a number of awards. First of all being Ace Tanker, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Bruiser, and the High Caliber, which was very, very nice. Let's go into the team score. For experience, I gained the most, and for damage, I gained the most, having 5,008 damage. Bidden War was very much close behind, having, I mean, to be honest with you, in that sense, because we both held that, pretty much we both held the town, whilst the rest of our team was sort of hiding in the corner, trying to fight off a number of tanks, you know, like 2 or 3 tanks. We were the one in the town, fighting our hardest to try and stop them from outflanking and pretty much overwhelming the rest of our team. So that said, our team did pretty well. Nearing the midpoint to afterwards, sort of mid onwards, they did pretty well at knocking out the other remaining tanks. And well played to our opponents, they did immensely well, especially the M103 and the T32. Those guys did pretty well at holding us off for a moment, but unfortunately, it was not meant to last. Anyway, Still, pretty good game overall, and very much happy that it was a mastery. Not entirely sure how that's a mastery, but still, that is a mastery. Anyway, guys, I'll take you back to the garage. The Jagdtiger. Summary time. This tank is just amazing. I love this tank. It's, as I've said before, it's my favourite tier 9 tank destroyer of all time at this game, at the current moment. I'm going to say at the current moment because I've still yet to experience certain things, but there is a lot that this tier 9 tank destroyer has that other tier 9 tank destroyers have got to beat. It's just... it is like this tank is just godly. The rate of fire alone is worth the grind. And if you are going through the Ferdinand, or you're thinking of the Ferdinand, or you're going through the Jagdpanther 2, same thing, and you're wondering, oh, this isn't really what I wanted, is it really worth it? It is by far really worth it. If you want a tank destroyer that can fire fast, has good mobility, and has ridiculously good armor, especially up on the upper glaciers, when you could find a very nice hull down position. I mean, this thing isn't so team dependent, so it means you can do something with the game, and given the circumstances, like in those 2 replays, you can pretty much decimate your opponents just by your rate of fire. So yes, definitely get this vehicle, definitely have a go at it, because it is just so much fun. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like the kind of content I do, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, clicking on the like button, and of course subscribing to the channel. If you yourself are a YouTuber, a World of Tanks player, or a YouTuber who does World of Tanks, feel free to let me know if there's anything I could do to improve the commentary, the gameplay, like anything tactics-wise, or anything you just think, would make the next episode even more awesome than the last. Thank you very much for watching this, guys. This is Crap Hunter signing out. Have a good one, and I'll catch you next time.